So this is the Kamala Harris interview that everybody is talking about right now. I want to watch it for myself. It's divided into 3 different videos. She does have Tim Walz, as you can see here on the screen. I think they throw some questions his way, so I want to hear what kind of answers he has. I think they asked him about his military service, and he kind of brushes the question off from the clips that I've seen. But I want to watch the full interview and just see what they actually have to say here. So let's go ahead and
Walz, thank you so much for sitting down with me and bringing the bus. The bus tour is well underway here in Georgia.
We got a bus.
You have less time to make your case to voters than any candidate in modern American history. The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day 1 in the White House?
Well,
Chad says it was a softball. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to watch it here and see what they ask. They're asking her, what is she going to do first day in the White House? Obviously, this is going to be like in every political interview. It should be an easy
there are a number of
question
things.
for her.
I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward. In a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda.
My first impression of this is she seems really nervous, which, okay, it's her first interview. I get that she's probably going to be nervous. They asked, what are you going to do on day 1? And she said she wanted to strengthen the middle class, but she's not really giving anything of how she's going to do that. I think she's just kind of pandering into, oh, the middle class is suffering, blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah, we get that, but what are you going to do?
And in an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation, and I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do day 1?
Day 1, it's going to be about, 1, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard.
When she keeps talking about the opportunity economy, I get kind of scared because there's past clips of her talking about equity for all, and we're all going to get to the same place and all this communism stuff. So the opportunity economy kind of stuff, that's scary. Apparently her and Tim Walz were at CNN headquarters for 6 hours that day. I wonder how many retweets they did. That's insane.
Include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families. For example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day 1.
What about you?
Well, I'm excited about this agenda, too. As I said, the idea of inspiring America to what can be. And I think many of these things that the vice president's proposing are things that we share in values. And the child tax credit is one we know that reduces childhood poverty by 1/3. We did it in Minnesota to have a federal partner in this. Unbelievable, I think, in the impact that we can make.
You talked about, you call it the opportunity economy. You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability. Yeah. One of your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically.
And wouldn't it be technically day 1,462 in the White House? Exactly. That's her big criticism here, is that she's already there. Why isn't she doing these things? The argument usually is, oh, well, she's the vice president. She doesn't have that much power. But I think they're really undermining how much influence that Kamala Harris has, especially with Joe Biden on the decline. He's not really there running the country. I think she has a lot more power than people lead on.
Because their groceries were less expensive. Housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. People, I mean, literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it. Which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging, what we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help.
This is where she starts talking about putting price mandates on groceries. Well, she said it before, and the week that followed up to that, she pretty much was bashed the entire week about how price mandates don't work. We saw that in Venezuela. It crashes economies. And I don't know if she's trying to step away from that now. It's kind of like she's feeling out and trying things to see what is actually going to work for her, but definitely not price mandates. Yo, I don't buy that Joe isn't able to do his job. Brother, watch an interview with him. He's not okay. I don't even mean that to be mean. He should be at home watching The Price is Right. He's done. He is definitely done. He's riding out the rest of his term, and then he's going to ride off into the sunset. And a lot of it right now, he's on a beach somewhere. He's not actually even doing anything. Maybe helping her campaign.
Help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years. What we need to do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers, so they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home, which is part of the American dream and their aspiration, but do it in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
So you have been vice president for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Boom.
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%.
So inflation is 2.9%, and it just now returned to the average, which is around 2 to 3%. The economy is still dealing with high prices. So to say the economy has recovered when these wages are not allowing people to purchase groceries, I don't know if that's true or not, you know. He's done with politics, but he doesn't have Alzheimer's. He's definitely on a decline. I'm not going to say he has Alzheimer's, but it could just be that he's old. He's old and he's on a decline. He's not capable of standing up there and giving speeches anymore. And that makes me question about the long days that goes into being a president. It's just being honest. Like I'm not hating on the guy. He's just old. He's really old, and he's not at his peak anymore. He's not even really at a level where he should be president. That's just how it is.
The work that we have done to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Never happened. We did it. So now, as I travel in the state of Georgia and around our country, the number of seniors that have benefited. I was in Nevada recently, a grandmother who showed me her receipts. And before we capped the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, she was paying hundreds of dollars, up to thousands of dollars a month for her insulin. She's not doing that anymore.
You maintain Bidenomics is a success.
I maintain that when we do the work of bringing down prescription medication for the American people, including capping the cost of the annual cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000, when we do what we did in the first year of being in office to extend the child tax credit so that we cut child poverty in America by over 50%, when we do what we have done to invest in the American people and bringing manufacturing back to the United States so that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, bringing business back to America. What we have done to improve the supply chain so we're not relying on foreign governments to supply American families with their basic needs, I'll say that that's good work. There's more to do, but that's good work.
I want to get some clarity on where you stand on some key policy issues. Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, at a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy. What we've already done, creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs. That tells me, from my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, I cast the tie-breaking vote that actually increased leases for fracking as vice president. So I'm very clear about where I stand.
And was there some policy or scientific data that you saw that you said, oh, okay, I get it now?
I wish I could take a vacation for my last 6 months of my job. Yeah, tell me about it. My values haven't changed, just my income stream. Yeah, her values certainly have changed. I don't know how she could be saying that. You're either for fracking or you're not. Are you thinking that fracking is hurting the environment? Which is what she was running on before. It was like a pollution issue, and now she's changed. So that's her values, right? They changed.
What I have seen is that we can grow and we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking.
Okay.
All right. So there's the first one. Let me go to the second one. Here's number 2. They got 3 videos of this.
Another issue, big one, is immigration. Mm-hmm. As vice president, you were tasked with addressing the root causes of migration in southern countries and
northern part of Central America.
The northern part of Central America that affects the southern border of the U.S. Mm-hmm. During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say this, that Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border. And because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill. A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. And let me tell you something.
So Donald Trump has actually spoken on this before, and he's saying there was other things in this bill that he obviously couldn't agree with and had nothing to do with the border. I'm going to look that up now and see if that's actually true.
The Border Patrol endorsed the bill. And I'm sure in large part because they knew they were working around the clock and 1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any community in America that has been devastated by fentanyl what passing that bill would have done to address their concern and a pain that they've experienced.
So you would push that legislation again. I just want to ask
Not only push it, I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
Just one other question about something that you said in 2019 when you first ran. There was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence.
So I can tell you right from the beginning, just looking here, the bill included funding for Ukraine and Israel, which, you know, you could argue if you're for or against that. That's obviously has nothing to do with a border issue with the U.S. So they did throw some other things in there. I'm trying to see if there's anything that really sticks out that a Republican would disagree with. Funding breakdown. So military aid for Ukraine, Israel, Indo-Pacific region, refugee assistance inside the U.S. That's obviously something that Republicans are not going to vote for. Improvements to the U.S. border security. That's what the whole bill is supposed to be for. Domestic uranium enrichment. A new system. The bill moves most new asylum cases to the Department of Homeland Security. No longer would these cases be heard by immigration judges under the Department of Justice. Instead, the people hearing these cases would be asylum officers with the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. So yeah, she's not being completely honest to say like, oh, this was just to fund the border. Nah, it's a little sketchy to try and claim something like that. Let's see what else is in here. Under this bill, the system is to be in place and operational 91 days after the bill is signed into law. Migrants receive an initial screening within 90 days of arrival. If the claim fails, a negative protection decision, they are immediately ordered for removal. They have 72 hours to appeal or request a hearing. If the claim passes initial screening, positive protection decision, they will get a work authorization immediately, be released in the country, and have 90 days before a final decision is made on their case. So I don't know. There were some funding issues up there. There's probably some good stuff in this too, which is what she's saying. But is it really bipartisan? Humanitarian parole. This bill ends other forms of parole, including the one used now to release migrants found crossing the border illegally. Does not significantly change the president's ability to use humanitarian parole. Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, Venezuelans, the program known as Processes for Cuban Haitians and all them people stays in place. Other big provisions. 50K new visas a year for 5 years. I don't know what the numbers actually are, people getting visas, so I don't know if that's a big deal or not. Afghan Adjustment Act. This gives green cards and pathways to citizenships for Afghans admitted or paroled after the U.S. withdrawal. That's probably something that Republicans would not like too much, so that's a little iffy too. Chad says apparently no one wants my money for my truck registration. I have to get that pink phony club song stuck in my head. There you go. Well, at least you don't have to pay. That's a good one. So I don't know, man. She's it's iffy. There's a lot of good stuff in that bill, probably funding for the borders, but there's also some shady stuff too. So, it's not completely honest.
Let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws, and I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
Generally speaking, how should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
See, this is a really great question. We want to know, why did you flip-flop on these things? Did you find something that changed your mind? Can you give us the details of like what is going on? Because you're flipping on all your issues. People are saying that now you're stealing Donald Trump's ideas. Let us know what you're actually thinking.
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time.
And you believe that fracking was bad for that environment, but now you want to keep fracking. So we don't know what's going on. She's not being specific.
We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have set goals for the United States of America and by extension the globe around when we should meet certain standards for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, as an example. That value has not changed. My value around what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding.
She prosecuted criminals so hard they're taking over Colorado. Yeah, I showed that video yesterday where the Venezuelan gangs were taking over the apartment complex. That thing was insane. They're running around with like AK-47s seizing the apartment. Madness.
Regarding the illegal passage of guns, drugs, and human beings across our border, my values have not changed. So that is the reality of it. In 4 years of being vice president,
thanks for the sub.
I'll tell you, one of the aspects to your point is traveling the country extensively. I mean, I'm here in Georgia. I think somebody told me 17 times since I've been vice president in Georgia alone. I believe it is important to build consensus, and it is important to find a common place of understanding of where we can actually solve problems.
On that note,
from what I understand, we have new advanced fentanyl screening or scanning equipment, but need the funding to implement them. Yeah, and that's something that you want to pass in one of these border bills for sure. But when she's throwing other things in the bill and it's not really completely just for the border or for combating immigration, it's actually sending all of this money to Ukraine, while saying that Republicans denied a bipartisan border bill, that's where people look at her and they're like, your credibility isn't quite there because you're not being completely honest. That's really what it comes down to. Like, you're not being completely honest. And as a politician, I get it. We're looking into this probably too much. Both of them are going to lie, of course. But just looking into the interview, I'm like, you're running with these things in your campaign, like the Project 25 stuff, which is obviously not true, with this Republicans shot this bill down because they only wanted to further Trump's campaign. Probably a little bit of that is true. Probably I would agree. Some of it is they want Trump to be elected and come in and be the savior of the border. But you can't run and say that they turned it down just because of Trump when there's all of this other stuff that we can find in that bill. I support single item bills. It would make passing them easier. Yeah, I mean, you can't have all of this stuff packed into one bill and then call it we're going to champion our border bill. Like, it doesn't work like that. You can't have all this crap in there. They always give it some kind of positive name, like this is going to help our borders or something. It's some stupid name. And a lot of it has nothing to do with actually the bill's called. So Langford is lying too. I'm not familiar with Langford. Who is Langford?
You had a lot of Republican speakers at the convention. Will you appoint a Republican to your cabinet?
Yes, I would.
Anyone
Yes,
in
I
mind?
would. No one in particular in mind. We got 68 days to go with this election, so I'm not putting the cart before the horse. But I would. I think it's really important. I have spent my career inviting diversity of opinion. I think it's important to have people at the table when some of the most important decisions are being made that have.
Yeah. I would definitely believe that he would want to forward a bill to benefit his own career, to say that he got this accomplished, and then he can say that he was for positive border policies. I don't think just because someone's Republican that they aren't going to do something like that. They're politicians.
Use different experiences, and I think it would be to the benefit of the American public to have a member of my cabinet who was a Republican.
I want to ask you about your opponent, Donald Trump.
Okay.
I was a little bit surprised. People might be surprised to hear that you have never
So like this, she just said that she would appoint a Republican to her cabinet. Do you think she's really going to appoint a real Republican to her cabinet? No, it's probably going to be like a soft, I'm a Republican, but not really. I'm going to agree with Kamala. That's politics. He's about as far right as anyone in the Senate. Well, I mean, just looking at all of this funding here, it's not just for the border. It's also for Ukraine, which that's what Donald Trump is running on. He doesn't want to fund Ukraine. So that's why they're going to disagree with it. Makes sense to me.
Interacted with him, met him face to face. That's going to change soon. But what I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes.
Oh, here we go.
Questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
See, that was good.
That's it.
Okay.
Let's give her points there. She didn't like play into that drama. She's just like, next question. I'll give her that. She's not playing into that because she knows the playing into those race issues are not going to get her votes. They're going to draw people away from her. So good for her.
Let's talk about some foreign policy issues that would be on your plate if you become commander-in-chief. President Biden has tried unsuccessfully to end the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. He's been doing it for months and months, along with you. Would you do anything differently? For example, would you withhold some U.S. weapons shipments to Israel? That's what a lot of people on the progressive left want you to do.
Let me be very clear. I am unequivocal and unwavering in my commitment to Israel's defense and its ability to defend itself. And that's not going to change.
She's not going to put an election denying MAGA in there, but MAGA ain't really conservative. Yeah, see that, and that's my point. She's not going to put somebody in there that aligns really with Donald Trump. That's my point. So we agree.
But let's take a step back. October 7th. 1,200 people were massacred. Many young people who were simply attending a music festival. Women were horribly raped. As I said then, I say today, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. And we have got to get a deal done. We were in Doha. Mm-hmm. We have to get a deal done. This war must end.
In the meantime,
and we must get a deal that is about getting the hostages out. I've met with the family.
Haven't they turned down like 8 deals already?
Of the American hostages. Let's get the hostages out. Let's get the ceasefire done.
But no change in policy in terms of arms and so forth.
No, we have to get a deal done. Dana, we have to get a deal done. When you look at the significance of this to the families, to the people who are living in that region, a deal is not only the right thing to do to end this war, but will unlock so much of what must happen next. I remain committed since I've been on October 8th to what.
Yeah, so just looking here, it shows Israel has repeatedly rejected Hamas truce offers. So, I mean, it's coming from Al Jazeera, so that's questionable of a source, but I would probably say that there's some truth to that they have turned down a lot of the truce. Look into... Yeah, Netanyahu rejected a Hamas proposal to end the war and released more than 100 captives held by the group in exchange for a withdrawal of Israeli forces. The release of Palestinian prisoners in Israel jails in recognition of Hamas governance over Gaza. So Israel's not really on board too much for working out these truce.
What we must do to work toward a two-state solution, where Israel is secure and in equal measure, the Palestinians have security and self-determination and dignity.
Oh, hail. All right, here's the final one.
Governor Walz, the
Walz,
country
yeah.
is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools.
All right, that's not the question that was asked of you. The question was, you've been saying you were toting guns over there in Iraq and Afghanistan, and did you deploy? Because it seemed like you were trying to do a little, not stolen valor, but embellishing your resume for sure, to try to say that you're some kind of war hero, the same way that you said that you were a head coach, and you weren't a head coach, you were an assistant coach, which is not a bad thing. I mean, he could have just ran and say, I'm a 24-year veteran, and, you know, we're a lot of veterans in my stream here. We'd have been like, hell yeah, you're a veteran. You don't need to embellish that you're some kind of Navy SEAL or some shit, you know? Yeah, being an assistant coach is still really cool. You know, that's a lot of lives that you probably touched, but you just have to lie about it. Why? What's the point? Why lie about it? And he's not really answering the question. 24 years in, I wonder how many awards he's gave himself and what his rank was. And that's the other thing about his rank. They were trying to say that he had a rank that he didn't actually achieve. I guess there was some training that he needed to do to actually get this rank, and he didn't retire at that rank, but they were selling him at that rank. And it's just like, why? Why do that? Why not? I mean, just be the rank that you were. Just sell yourself as that. You were in the military for 24 years. That's amazing, you know? When was it that he made these claims? When he first came out, that's what they were calling him. His initial speech of him coming out, they were calling him Sergeant Major, and he wasn't a Sergeant Major. He came out and they were trying to label him as coach and not say his name because they said he was a head coach, and he wasn't. He was an assistant coach, which is, I'm not shitting on him for that. Like, this is cool stuff, but why take it the step further and lie about it? To try and say like, you were the top official to serve in Congress while also having the top rank in the military. Like, come on. Why do that? These are the things where you're like, And I get it. We all kind of embellish our resume. Everybody does it. But when you're in the spot like this and you know people are going to fact check it, like why bring that criticism to yourself?
And around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again,
This has nothing to do with what he was asked.
My record has been out there for over 40 years.
Hey, we think you lied about your resume. Oh, well, I don't support children dying. And people are just supposed to like pretend like he answered the question. Like, no shit, you don't support children dying. Nobody supports that. That's not the question you were asked, idiot.
To speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war. Yeah. Did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case,
Yeah.
This was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again,
his grammar wasn't correct. Bro, you lied. You said you went to war and you were toting guns. Come on, dude. There's video.
Not this, it's an attack on my children for showing.
He should have just said he misspoke. Dude, you can't just say you misspoke about your military record. It don't work like that. It doesn't. Saying that you went to war it's not something you like, oh, I forgot, I misspoke. No, dude, it don't work like that. He lied. He got caught in a lie, and now he's trying to blame it on his grammar.
Love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never have, and I never will.
They're not demeaning your service by saying you're full of shit. That's not, you're demeaning your service by claiming things that you didn't do. I'm saying that as a veteran. Nobody's shitting on you for being in the military. People are shitting on you for lying. You're doing that to get votes. You're trying to come off like you're G.I. Joe, Navy SEAL badass. And you're not. You didn't do that. That's not you, brother. That's not you at all.
One other question, because again, this is all new.
Yeah.
This was not, however many days ago, this was not on either of your bingo cards, especially yours. You had to clarify that you had said that you and your wife used IVF, but it turned out you used a different kind of fertility in order to have children. And then when you ran for Congress in 2006, your campaign repeatedly made false statements about a 1995 arrest for drunk and reckless driving. What do you say to voters who aren't sure whether they can take you at your word?
What do they say? Because you're getting caught in a lot of lies, man.
Well, I've been very public. I think they can see my students come out, former folks I've served with, and they vouch for me. I certainly own my mistakes when I make them. The one thing I'll tell you is I wished in this country wouldn't have to do this. I spoke about our infertility issues because it's hell, and families know this. And I spoke about the treatments that were available to us that had those beautiful children there. That's quite a contrast in folks that are trying to take those rights away from us. And so I think people know who I am. They know that record. They've seen that. I've taught thousands of students. I've been out there. And I won't apologize for speaking passionately, whether it's guns in schools or protecting of reproductive rights. The contrast could not be clearer between what we're running against. The vice president's position on this has been clear. And
so Trump has never wanted to take away IVF rights. I don't know what he's talking about. He actually just came out with something recently. I'll look it up.
I think most Americans get it if you've been through that. I don't think they're cutting hairs on IVF or IUI. I think what they're cutting hairs on is an abortion ban and the ability to be able to deny families the chance to have a beautiful child.
No, brother, you said that Trump wanted to ban IVF treatment. So if anybody's cutting hairs, it's you. You're making this into an issue because you keep lying. So yeah, New York Times, right here. This is actually what Trump is running on. Of course, they got to hit me with the ad. So I don't pay for this, but I can't really get around that. But it says right here, Trump called for IVF to be free. How would that work? And they're going to go into details of his plan of how he wants to make IVF free. So if anybody's making that controversial by saying Trump wants to ban IVF, brother, that's you. You're making it controversial because you keep lying and it's hurting your campaign.
Vice President Harris, you were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have served with President Biden.
This is for you, Paul. This is for for the Democrats that are trying to pretend that Biden is 100% okay and they try to make it into a political issue, this is the response that she's going to give.
For almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and...
That's not what was asked. Do you regret lying to the American people about Biden's health conditions? That's what was asked.
And loyal to the American people. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president. By contrast, the former president has none of that. And so, one, I am so proud to have served as vice president to Joe Biden. And two, I am so proud to be running with Tim Walz for president of the United States and to bring America what I believe the American people deserve, which is a new way forward, and turn the page on the last decade of what I believe has been contrary to where the spirit of our country really lies.
But the last decade, of course, the last 3.5 years has been part of your administration.
I'm talking about an era that started about a decade ago, where there is some suggestion, warped, I believe it to be, that the measure of the strength of a leader is based.
I doubt Trump even knew what IVF was, and many Republicans do want to ban IVF. Trump is just pandering, like his flip-flop on Florida abortion ban. And let's say in your scenario, Trump is a retard. Trump is just stupid. Let's just go with that. He never said anything about IVF because he didn't know what it was. So then how is Tim saying he wants to ban it if he's never said anything about it? He didn't even know about it. The reality is that he never said that he wanted to ban IVF. They're conflating that in with the abortion thing, which is complicated because he didn't ban abortion. He stopped Roe versus Wade, which does ban abortion. And that's how they should be running their campaign. They shouldn't be saying, like the way they word it is so convoluted with lies when they could just get to the specifics of it, be honest. And then people would go, oh yeah, what he actually did there was dangerous because I do want abortion. You see how it works? Instead, they navigate and throw all the lies in there to make it simple. Like, no, man. Decades ago, she's talking shit about Obama. Yeah. And the whole, the major race issues, which is probably what she's getting at here, started with Obama. That's when the country really started to get heated. Conflated with the beliefs of many Republicans. Specifically what? You're talking about IVF? I would probably agree with you that maybe some of them want to stop IVF. I don't know. I'd have to look into it. But either way, if you're saying he didn't know about it, how's he going to try and ban it? That doesn't make sense.
Based on who you beat down, instead of where I believe most Americans are, which is to believe that the true measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up. That's what's at stake as much as any other detail that we could discuss in this election.
I guess if we just simplify everything, what I'm getting at here is I just want a candidate that's going to be real. Just be real. Don't embellish everything with lies. Like the dude's military service. If he would have ran, just been like, hey, I'm a veteran, 24 years, I'd have been so on board. Like, hell yeah. But you got to lie about your military service? Like, come on. His party would try to ban it. Okay, but that's the thing. You could come out and you could say Republicans want to ban this, and then quote sources of Republicans saying they want to ban it. That would have been like, okay, these are some smart people. What they do is they come out and say Trump, obviously their opponent, wants to ban it when he never said that. Trump, his opponent, supports Project 25, even though he disagrees and says he doesn't support it. All of this stuff. Trump supports a nationwide abortion ban, which is not true. He doesn't support that. That's never how that's been. But these are the things that they say. And maybe it's just because it's politics. I get it. Politicians are going to lie. But that's just me. I don't like liars. I don't like it when they lie. That's what it comes down to. Just be real. Be real about the specifics.
Because we haven't had a chance to talk, I'm just curious, staying on President Biden, when he called you and said he was pulling out of the race, what was that like? And did he offer to endorse you right away, or did you ask for it?
She said, I'm going to be president. That's what she said.
It was
Jumped up and down.
It was a Sunday, so here I'll give you a little too much information.
Go for it. There's no such thing, Madam Vice President.
My family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces, and we had just had pancakes and, Auntie, can I have more bacon? Yes, I'll make you more bacon. And then we were sitting down to do a puzzle.
I feel like all of this is made up. Just being real.
And the phone rang, and it was Joe Biden. And he told me what he had decided to do. And I asked him, are you sure? And he said yes. And that's how I learned about it.
And what about the endorsement? Did you ask for it?
He was very clear that he was going to support me.
So when he called to tell you, he said, I'm pulling out of the race and I'm going to support you.
Well, my first thought was not about me, to be honest with you. My first thought was about him, to be honest.
And his health, for sure.
I think history is going to show a number of things about Joe Biden's presidency. I think history is going to show that in so many ways it was transformative, be it on what we have accomplished around finally investing in America's infrastructure, investing in new economies, in new industries, what we have done to bring our...
Blah, 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 word salad. Anyway, Trump supports whatever will get him elected. I don't think he has any core beliefs other than I himself, which that's every politician, man. Every politician does that, which is why we try to keep a record of what they said. And that's what I'm more upset about. We try, and what we're hopeful for is that they actually put their policies on their page, right? You go to their website, you see the things that they actually believe in, what they want to do. It's all laid out in a document on the page. So when they flip-flop away from those issues, we can kind of hold them to that. All politicians are going to lie. I get it. But we got to hold them accountable. That's what people do with their votes.
Our allies back together and have confidence in who we are as America and grow that alliance. What we have done to stand true to our principles, including the one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I think history is going to show not only has Joe Biden led an administration that has achieved those extraordinary successes, but the character of them.
Kamala's webpage only wants money. Yeah, and I showed that in my video. 3 different donation banners, no policies, no event tab. You go over to Trump's page, everything he wants to do is right there. There's one donate button. And I'm not even saying that like, go Trump. It's just that is deficient in her campaign. And anybody who doesn't believe that is wrong. That's just how it is. Like you have to, the only way to hold a politician accountable is to actually see what their issues are. And if they refuse to show you what their issues are and what their policies are going to be, there's no way to hold them accountable. And they're trying to dupe you by doing that. This way, they don't have to actually say that they're for anything or what they're going to do. And they can't be proven wrong. We're playing a game where it's like you're trying to do a math equation, but they're not giving you the numbers. You're not allowed to solve the equation. And that's what bothers me.
Man is one that he has been in his life and career, including as a president, quite selfless and puts the American people first.
I just have to ask you both about 2 standout moments, aside, of course, from the addresses that you both gave, but standout moments that were perhaps unexpected during the convention. You mentioned one of them, Governor. A moment that you shared, that the world shared with your son, Gus. You were speaking, the camera caught him. So
this was wrong. I totally will give him this. They were shitting all over his kid. I guess he has like autism or something. All over X, people were making fun of him on the Republican side, and that was wrong. Like, it's a kid. Why are people so mean? Why? I get it. You don't want to vote for Democrats. You want Trump to win or whatever, but just leave the kid out of it. Come on.
So incredibly proud of you. So emotional, saying, that's my dad.
Yeah, I don't know as a father I could have ever imagined that. I'm grateful for so many reasons to be on this ticket, but that moment.
That was hateful.
To understand what was.
Yes, Paul, that was hateful and wrong. They shouldn't be bringing children into it.
Really important to have my son feel a sense of pride in me, that I was trying to do the right thing. And it was, you try and protect your kids, it brings notoriety and things, but it was just such a visceral, emotional moment that I'm grateful I got to experience it, and I'm so proud of him. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of Hope. I'm proud of Gwen. She's a wonderful mother, and these are great kids. And I think the one thing is, talking about the era we're in, is our politics can be better. It can be different. We can show some of these things, and we can have families involved in this. And I hope that I hope people felt that out there, and I hope they hug their kids a little tighter, because you just never know, and life can be kind of hard.
And last question.
He didn't really address the main controversy of that, but that was a good answer. That was a good answer. Keep your family in politics, or at least around you, showing that you're a family man. I'll give him that. That was a good answer.
Madam Vice President, the photograph that has gone viral. You were speaking, one of your grandnieces that you were just talking about was watching you accept the nomination. You didn't explicitly talk about gender or race in your speech, but it obviously means a lot to a lot of people, and that viral picture really says it. What does it mean to you?
I am running because I
Thank you for the sub. Or I guess follow on Twitch, not sub.
believe that I am the best person to do this job at this moment, for all Americans, regardless of race and gender. But I did see that photograph, and I was deeply touched by it. And you're right, it's the back of her head, her two little braids, and then I'm in the front of the photograph, obviously speaking. And it's very humbling. It's very humbling in many ways.
Did she talk to you about it after?
Yeah, my Twitch has been actually going off this week, which is surprising because usually nobody watches me over there. But that's cool. That's cool. People are watching on Twitch. Actually, it shows over here that nobody's actually in the room watching me. Yeah, but hey, they followed, so that's cool. He jerked him on the stage. Oh yeah, I think I saw a video of that too, where he like grabbed the kid by the arm. Ben Hammer, you're here? Why is it? It's only showing. I guess it's showing one viewer. Yeah, so maybe it's not working. I don't know. Either way, I got 30 followers, so that's cool. But yeah, Bexy did say, or I did see like a video of him like jerking him up on the stage, which, okay, look, not cool, but his son is autistic. Maybe he needed to like, come on, we're going on stage, we're going for a photo. Like you got to kind of like guide him a little bit. Maybe not trying to be mean, like you should be jerking your kid around or anything, but still, maybe someone with some issues, you kind of have to be a little bit more firm, I guess. They weren't saying stuff against the kid. It was how Walz jerked on his arm. No, I definitely saw like photos of the kid crying. People were making memes of that. But you're right. There also were the video of him jerking the kid by the arm. That's true as well. But even that, I'm kind of like, he kind of had to get a handle of the kid to get on stage, probably. Which is, that's a weird line. I know. It's like, it's the reality, though, probably.
Oh, she had a lot to talk about. She had a lot. She listened to everything, and she listens to everything.
She gave you your hot takes?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Madam Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, Shanna. Thank you.
Jeez. Yeah, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but have you ever seen somebody with a toddler that, they're trying to go somewhere and they grab their kid, a little bit harder than they should? I don't think he actually was like abusing his kid. I think that was a little bit, it was a bad photo op for him for sure. It looked pretty bad, but I don't think he's like abusive.